You're watching Sunday Interview, and I'm your host, Grevazio Zulu. Now, debate is raging on the move by government to introduce to Parliament a national dialogue bill that will look at the constitutional, electoral process, Public Order Act, and the political parties bill. Voices are divided on the matter, with some describing the bill as illegal, despotic, and draconian, while others have welcomed it as a progressive bill that will enhance democracy and good governance. Whether this bill will go through in Parliament and later produce desired legislation is heavily dependent on stakeholders such as political parties as well as members of Parliament. To discuss this bill on Sunday Interview, I speak with one of the opposition party leaders, Wynter Kabimba, who is Secretary General of the Rainbow Party. Welcome to the program.
Good evening, Grevazio.
I'm assuming by now you have sight of the bill and you understand what is contained in it. And I want you to help us, as we start the program, to understand what is contained in this bill. What does it intend to achieve?
Okay. Yes, I've browsed through the bill. I've perused it, also in greater detail. And I think the bill attempts to achieve two fundamentals. The first one is that the bill is ring-fencing the national dialogue, to put it in a framework, where stakeholders that will participate in the national dialogue forum can have parameters of operation, can have the law that speaks to that particular process and how it will run from the beginning to the end. The second aspect that the bill is doing is that it is laying down the foundation of the agenda for that process. So you'll find that the bill refers to the Siavonga resolutions of the 12th of June 2018. That is the agenda that all political parties, without exception, did agree to, that the national dialogue at the time when it is convened, we, the political parties, have given ourselves an agenda that will look at the following thematic areas: constitutional reforms, separation of powers and judicial independence, the Public Order Act, etc., etc.
Political parties bill.
Political parties bill. So the bill is very clear that this is the agenda that stakeholders have decided themselves, not this year, not last month, but last year in June at Siavonga. And all the political parties, I repeat, signed to that agenda.
Did the representatives of political parties have the power to represent their parties?
Well, they did.
At that meeting.
They did.
In fact, sometimes we send rerepresentatives who have no authority at all in the meetings.
In fact, I'm told by participants that point was raised. That point was raised at the beginning of the workshop. Is everybody that is before this workshop empowered or authorized to append their signature and make decisions on behalf of their political parties or organizations that they represent? And the answer invariably from everybody was yes. So all of us, even those of us that did not attend that meeting in Siavonga, are bound. For the Rainbow Party, we fall under the Forum of Political Parties outside Parliament. So the FPP was represented in Siavonga, and hence our being bound to
that
the Siavonga resolutions.
The title of the bill itself seems to be mouthful: National Dialogue, Constitutional Electoral Process, Public Order and Political Parties Bill. Why is it so? You had to put the agenda in the title of the bill.
Is to make sure that people don't waver away from the Siavonga resolutions, because
is there any reason why you want to tie people to around the Siavonga resolution?
Because that is
new things have come up.
Because that is the agenda that the political parties and other stakeholders gave themselves, to pursue. But secondly, there is also a provision in the Siavonga resolutions that other items may be added to this agenda during the plenary session of the dialogue. So, although the framework is as set out in the bill that is before us, there is actually some latitude to that effect.
Do you, as an opposition party leader and your party, Rainbow, support this bill?
We do, because it is predicated on the Siavonga resolutions. So we are bound by the Siavonga resolutions. Unless you are going to specify sections or clauses in the bill which you want me to speak to on behalf of the Rainbow Party, then I would be at liberty to do that.
There's an issue of consensus here. Already you are divided, setting onto a path and an agenda, and in a divided way. Like I said in the introduction, with various voices now speaking. You've got already the UPND saying they'll not really be part of this. Churches on their platform, three mother bodies have said they won't be part of this.
We've been divided. But this is not new. This is not new, and for me, coming from my PF days, this is history repeating itself, but under different circumstances. If you recall, in 2006, when we had the National Constitutional Conference, we didn't speak with one voice as a nation.
And it failed?
No. Well, it didn't fail because of lack of participation. It fails purely on account of technicality in Parliament. So it didn't fail because the voices were divided.
It failed because there was no consensus. There was no agreement that this is the path you wanted to take.
No. Because if you remember, in 2006, the only political party that said they would not participate in the NCC was the Patriotic Front. The Catholics were the first ones to declare that they will not participate. And because Michael Sata viewed the Catholic Church as one of his major constituencies, he had to follow that line. Follow suit and toe that line.
And as a party you did.
And find excuses why PF would not participate. Now, if you go by that history, this is history repeating itself, that we have a situation now where we have different voices over this matter. And the voices and the two schools of thought have been as follows. A, those of us who have insisted that Siavonga must be the framework of the national dialogue. And B, those of our colleagues, including the church mother bodies, who believe that they have the right to formulate an agenda away from the agenda that was agreed to by stakeholders. That the church, which was originally appointed to chair the dialogue, wanted to do more than just chairing the dialogue. The three church mother bodies insisted that if they are going to chair the dialogue, then they must be given the liberty to provide the agenda as well.
Because they're stakeholders.
So those were, yes, they are stakeholders. But if each stakeholder is going to produce their own agenda, there will be chaos. Now, you recall the last time when I appeared on your program, we were dealing with the issue of the chairmanship of the church mother bodies, yes. Vis-a-vis the dialogue process. Now, I think it's important for purposes of this program to recap and then fast forward. What do I mean? After the last program, the four of us, that is Edith Nawakwi, Sakwiba Skota, Felix Mutati, and myself, had engagements with the church. We reached a point where the misunderstanding and the disagreement on how to move this process had become fundamental. And what we decided to do, on the 2nd of February, we wrote a letter to the church. And the letter was to the effect that it looks like we have reached an impasse on the following issues. A, the chairmanship of the national dialogue. Collateral to that, the issue of the agenda between the Siavonga resolutions drawn up by the stakeholders and the agenda that the church wanted to sneak in. 3, the issue of the secretariat, that the Siavonga stakeholders insisted that the secretariat should be with the Zambia Center for Inter-Party Dialogue. The church wanted the chairmanship and the secretariat to be under the church. 4, the issue of the transparency of the bank account for the national dialogue. So we wrote to the church, and in our conclusion we said, if you do insist, or if you still insist unconditionally that this is the way the process shall go, then we are declaring an impasse. So please write back to us and tell us that yes, these issues have become irreconcilable between yourselves and ourselves.
Political parties.
And especially the four of us. Because the political parties alliance has always been with the church over this matter in terms of running away from the Siavonga resolutions. So our letter of the 2nd of February went unanswered. We sent a reminder on the 9th of February, which went unanswered. We sent a third letter on the 19th of February, which went unanswered for a few days. And then on the 22nd of February, the church wrote back to us and said, we have seen the 3 letters that you have written to us over and the issues that you raised therein. We have delayed in responding to you because we are still undertaking consultations. That is a letter from the church. And then in conclusion, they invited us for a meeting on the 25th of February. The position we had taken, Grevasio, was that we would not meet the 3 church mother bodies again without a clear response to our letter on this impasse. So we told them, sorry, we are not coming for that meeting of the 25th of February until you do give us a response to our letter. So that is where
you stand to date.
And that is where we stand to date, that we have not had a written response from the church.
So you have an impasse between yourselves, the 4 parties, and the church.
We have an impasse with the church in terms of their chairmanship, which is tied to the agenda which they want to give to the stakeholders. We do not believe that that is the role that the church as chair of this process should be playing.
You do not believe the church has a prophetic voice and authority to chair?
That's not
to guide.
That's not. We didn't pick on the church because of its
integrity.
No, because of its a prophetic voice, as you put it. In fact, when the Rainbow Party met with the church, when we were invited by the church, we said to the church, the only reason why we have advocated all along that you should take up the chairmanship of this process is because of the historical credentials that go back to 1991. When you sat down, the MMD then and UNIP, and arrived at some consensus, some agreement, which ended up cutting down President Kaunda's term by 2.5 years, which ended up leading to the repeal of Article 4 in the Constitution, which provided that there shall be only one political party, and at the time it was UNIP. So we said, because of these credentials, we believe as Rainbow Party that you have experience. And we went further and said to the church, without patronizing the church, that these credentials, we do not find them in the Zambia Center for Inter-Party Dialogue. And that's why we think that the church would be the suitable organization to run this process. In our letter that I've just referred to earlier, we said to the church, if you do not agree, if your conditions are cast in concrete, please say so that we can look for an alternative chairperson for the dialogue. Now, so we made it clear, and we have not, backstabbed anybody. We have not gone behind anybody. We made it very clear to, to the church that the national dialogue must move on, with or without the chairmanship of the church, because there are many individuals in this country and other organizations that can chair this process.
You are capable of guiding the process, yes. which of course may be a valid point. But now, this, you acknowledge that you've got two positions here.
Yes.
There's your group, there's the opposition alliance, which does not agree with the route taken now.
Yes.
That government is trying to push down people's throats, constitutional review through the back door.
This has
and
been
of course
the
dialogue.
This has been the agenda for, this has been Gravazio. There is nothing about this agenda. This has been the agenda, rather the demand from everybody.
Pushing people into dialogue when they don't want?
No.
When they don't agree that the environment is ripe and good enough to dialogue, you're forcing them to.
No. If you look at this bill and the contents of this bill and listen to the voices that are rising against this bill, surely, with the greatest respect, to many of my colleagues there, some of them, I'm sorry to say, are purely academic. Purely academic. Nobody is attacking this bill in terms of substance. I mean, issues like, oh no, but you have, you have criminalized the attendance of people or the production of documents, and that is against freedom of expression. I mean, this business of just flying around with these words, constitutionalism, freedom of expression. The freedom of expression in the Constitution is guaranteed to an individual, not an organization. Okay? Even as you belong to a political party, a club, an NGO, your exercise of your freedom of expression is individualized in the Constitution.
You are trying to go into...
So what is it that is draconian about this bill? I haven't heard anybody get to the root of those provisions.
What is draconian is that...
What is draconian about it?
You will recall that when you were in the Patriotic Front, you decided then that you were not going to be part of the NCC. But this time around, you do not want any party to say they will not be part of it.
No.
You're going to nominate individuals in this political party.
No.
And the party cannot decide not to send them.
There are two things. There are two things here. There is a group, there is one group, i.e. members of parliament, that have been listed as members of parliament, irrespective of their political parties, where they hail from. There are also representatives of organizations who will be nominated by those organizations. There are also representatives of political parties outside parliament who will be nominated by those respective political parties. And these groups...
The bill actually says Secretary to the Cabinet will nominate.
No. Look, the Secretary of the Cabinet is nominating, is appointing secretaries. When these guys, let me just clarify this procedure. When Gravazio Zulu is appointed by Organization X as their representative, the letter to confirm that nomination will come from the Secretary to the Cabinet. That's a procedural issue. So when you go to register or to get your accreditation, you produce the letter from the secretary to the cabinet. That's the document you produce during accreditation. So secretary to the cabinet is not the one who is nominating you. He's simply confirming your nomination by your respective organization.
In this case, what you're saying is that political parties, organizations, can decide to sit, have a caucus, and decide, well, we're not going to this forum.
Yes, but what they cannot do is coerce or obstruct or intimidate one of their members who says, I want to go myself. That they don't have, that they can't do because it is a criminal offense. I'll give you the example of the PF in 2006. When the debate of going for the NCC came up, I was one of those people who was of the view that the PF must attend the NCC. President Sata, as the leader of the party, was against the PF attending the NCC. Okay? That issue was resolved by a secret ballot. And those who said no did win. Now, at that stage, if I had wanted, in my individual conscience, to attend the NCC, and the party decided to discipline me, then it would become an offense under the current act. So nobody
you are encouraging members of political parties to defy their leaders.
No. Nobody is allowed to stifle the freedom of expression of another citizen under the guise of a political party or an organization to which they belong.
That's what the bill does, encouraging people to defy their own organizations.
No,
and decide
the bill encourages...
they're going to participate regardless of the position
the bill
of the group they belong to.
The bill encourages citizens of this country to exercise their right and freedom of expression. That's what it does, and nothing else.
When members join these groups and what we're calling clubs, then they subscribe to the rules of those clubs. And if the club says we're not going to the forum,
there's no club.
They should abide.
There is no rule in any club which says that your freedom of expression is subordinate to the rules of the club, because that becomes unconstitutional anyway. That in itself, that particular rule in that club or in that NGO or in that political party would become unconstitutional, because your right to freedom of expression is guaranteed by the Constitution. So any rule which defies or tries to abrogate that is automatically unconstitutional, and you are not bound to respect that rule.
Let's look at what you talked about, that the objective, it seeks to implement the Siavonga resolutions. Now,
yes.
Weigh that against we the people of Zambia. Is that document going to be for the politicians, by the politicians, or by the Zambians?
No. Like I've said, there's Siavonga resolutions were resolutions of political parties and other stakeholders. So we, the people of Zambia,
it's not politicians alone.
Encompasses it. No, we're not saying that it is politicians alone. If you look at the list of the people that made submissions, if you look at the list of the people that attended the Siavonga meeting, it's not politicians alone. The point is this, that we have resolutions that bind everybody. So if the people that went to Siavonga committed themselves to the Siavonga resolutions have changed their minds today, that in itself does not vitiate this bill. It doesn't go against what the majority decided. They have the right to change their minds.
Siavonga resolutions are probably, for lack of a better word, not a very popular document. I mean, few people on the streets know what is contained in the Siavonga resolution.
No, that's why
that's the basis now for a constitutional review.
That's why. Is
that a fair way of doing it?
The Siavonga resolutions simply outline the thematic areas of the national dialogue. Okay, they are not law in themselves. They simply said the stakeholders meeting at Siavonga on the 12th of June have resolved as follows: that there shall be a national dialogue process, that the thematic areas during that debate or dialogue shall be as follows. So the Siavonga resolutions simply give you a framework under which the national dialogue shall take place. Nothing else. Okay? So when the national dialogue takes place, looking at the Constitution, looking at the Public Order Act, the political parties bill, and other collateral pieces of legislation, the bill says the members at the forum have powers to alter, to delete, to review what is in the draft bills.
Are you not concerned that probably Zambians will be left behind and amendments to the Constitution will come from a very narrow perspective?
No. We are dealing with the principle, the fundamental principle here of representative democracy. Members of Parliament will be there. MMD is represented in Parliament. PF is represented in Parliament. UPND is represented in Parliament. FDD is represented in Parliament. Those of us that are not represented in Parliament have another organ called the Forum for Political Parties outside Parliament. So, Bwana, we have moved from Athenian democracy to representative democracy. If we are going to argue, that way, then it means everybody should come from every village and fill up that parliament.
Isn't that the basis of a constituent assembly?
That's not the basis. Even the constituent assembly does not bring everybody. Even under the principle,
it attempts to have a semblance of representation.
That's a very good.
That's broader than the political parties.
That's very good. It attempts. Let me tell you this: that countries that have successfully formulated constitutions, if you read constitutionalism of many countries, did not bring everybody. It was just not possible. In the United States, there were 58 members coming from the confederation of 13 states, and 4 of the states could not finance their delegates to go to Philadelphia for the conference. So only 11 states managed to send delegates there. But they have one of the most outstanding pieces that we call a constitution that stands the test of time. So you have to look at the times. So we are dealing with the representative democracy here. And I've not heard, I've tried to peruse the bill and listen to the arguments, across. They are to a great extent more academic than arguments of substance.
How will these people be accountable to ensure that what comes out of this forum will be people's wishes and representation?
Because the members of Parliament who have been elected by the Zambian people will be part of the forum. They will agree to the amendments, during the forum, and I don't see them going to Parliament and capitulating and enacting something different. I don't see that.
I mean, why should Zambians really trust their MPs? Because the constitution we have,
why did they vote,
which almost throws the nation into a crisis, also went to Parliament.
Look, this is if your argument is that why should Zambians trust their MPs? Who else should they trust?
On constitution making?
No, because these are the representatives that they willfully elected. So let's be real about these things. You elect, I participate in electing a member of Parliament. Whether or not I agree with him during that time, he is my representative. I must respect him as my representative. But I see these arguments where, we try to shift goalposts along the way because you don't agree with this one. But that's not the point. The point is that there are rules and principles that govern representative democracy, and the bill provides that all members of Parliament shall be part of the forum.
Of course, the forum falls under the bill. Now, one of the arguments, which of course you are calling academic, is that this bill has usurped the mandate of a church to lead a truly non-partisan and independent dialogue process?
And there's nobody who has hijacked anything from the church. Okay? The church's process is one that they call national dialogue and the reconciliation. When we met them as the Rainbow Party, they brought up that issue. And my response to the church, my submission to the church was that I don't need any reconciliation between President Edgar Lungu and myself. I don't have any conflict with him that requires reconciliation or that he calls for reconciliation. I don't have any conflict with the Edith Nawaki of FDD that would require us to be reconciled. And my conclusion or my proposal to the church was that identify those individuals whom you want to reconcile. Find another forum for that reconciliation. I don't want to go and sit in a meeting, Grevasio, and spend the whole day listening to two individuals exchanging diatribes and calumny under the auspices of reconciliation. I would rather be at home. So, hence the impasse with the church. Should it be national dialogue on the Constitution, Public Order Act, separation of powers and judicial independence, political parties bill, or should it be about social and economic reforms, witchcraft, religious affairs, and reconciliation? Okay? Now, I don't think that witchcraft is a national issue in my view. After all, it's practiced at night, so we hear. I don't think that religious affairs in a country which is a Christian nation but with multiple denominations and religions would be a national issue. We don't have conflicts between denominations in this country. The issues that we have that are outstanding are constitutional. The issues that we have that affect everybody are how I exercise my right to assemble when I want to mobilize my political party. And let me just take this point, while I'm still canvassing this point, that what I read today in one of the tabloids, that one of the political leaders, who was mobilizing a political party in Northwestern Province was attacked. If that article is true, that is very sad, and I want to appeal to the PF leadership to stop this primitive politics. And hence, why national dialogue is important. Because we all have to agree, as political players and other stakeholders, how we are going to practice our politics without forward. Fear or favor.
Now, this process is at risk of being shunned, like I mentioned. Of course, UPND has already stated. The three church mother bodies have already stated they're not part of it. They don't believe in it. So, will it be credible?
Look, will it be credible? Yes. Do people have the right, to withdraw from a process? Yes, they do. They do.
It will be credible.
Just like it happened in 2006. Just like people decide not to go and vote. So people have a right to withdraw. But we want to practice, Gravasio, politics of engagement, not politics of withdrawal. I want to go and sit.
Politics of engagement by force.
No. I'm going for this process voluntarily. My position is that I would like to go and sit in the same room as President Edgar Lungu and his members and other stakeholders and argue on how we are going to refine our political process. I don't want to speculate.
So you do not care whether this event is shunned?
No. You have already made it clear that one political party says they are not attending.
Probably the alliance says that too.
Yes.
That's probably 10 parties.
Yes, 10 political parties.
Will not attend.
There is more than, there is 90 political parties registered in Zambia.
Three church mother bodies will not attend.
Well, but if you look at the three church mother bodies, they have problems internally. One of them resigned the presidency of one of the umbrella organizations. So it means even within the church itself,
there's division.
There's division.
Probably
and
those probably by politics.
And those that are withdrawing, those that are withdrawing from the process cannot claim that they are doing so because they have instructions from everybody else. Because some of them have taken a different route. That is true. And I know that when the letters go out, I can predict this. There are many religious organizations, church organizations, individual and collective, that will come and attend this forum. Because, look, we need to move forward. You can't, on the one hand, claim that there is tension in the country. You can't, on the one hand, claim that your rights are being abrogated when you want to mobilize a political party. And on the other hand, claim that I can't go and face those that I'm complaining against. That is what I call politics of withdrawal. We want to practice politics of engagement. I don't want to speculate what Edgar Lungu is going to say. I don't want to speculate or hypothesize on the outcome of the process. I want to go all the way so that when I'm done with this process, the process is over, I'm intelligent enough to make up my mind that Edgar Lungu doesn't mean well. Then I can go to the Zambian people and tell them, I've now proven that the man doesn't mean well with his government. I can't do that now. I would be speculating.
So you want, to engage first.
That's what everybody is doing.
Let's look at some of the details in this bill. The National Dialogue Bill also creates a National Dialogue Forum, which we're discussing now. And the forum is given 10 days to conclude the process.
Yes.
Is this another 90 days proverb?
Oh, but
10 days is too small.
There's a proviso.
For all these things, the Constitution, Public Order Act,
that is a problem.
Political party bill.
Look, Grevas, that is a problem that I've seen, is that those that want to argue against the bill are reading it halfway. There is a proviso. There is a section immediately after that, which says if the members think that they will not be able to conclude business within 10 days, they have a right to request the Minister of Justice, as minister responsible, to extend the period.
And therein lies the catch.
What is the catch?
You remember you refused to extend the period for a Constitutional Review Commission.
No, they had handed in the report. That's the difference.
They had wanted an extension.
Oh, the
bottom line is that you rejected it. As minister then, you had so much power. You rejected it.
They had wanted...
Simply even this one, if the minister is not happy with the resolutions, he may just cut it out. Reject the request to extend.
Look, you can decide to think negatively if you don't want to be part of the process. Very easy. For example, I can tell you, if I didn't want to attend, this dialogue, I would pick up, an issue. Why should the Rainbow Party be only allowed to submit one member or to nominate one member, and the 9 political parties, are given the liberty to nominate 2 members? So if I wanted to be mischievous, I would say we are not attending, because so you can choose to be negative. Very easy.
But is that being negative when it speaks to precedence almost?
No, but
you agree that you had rejected that request for extension, and in this piece of legislation, there's the fact that a real chance that the minister could reject a request.
No, you are connecting 2 issues that are not connected, because firstly, I've answered that in terms of the technical committee on drafting the Zambian constitution, or the Aneo Silungwe technical committee, they had concluded the job. They had exhausted their budget. So my question to the president then was, what are they going to be doing, sir, in the next 12 months? And we put that question to them. What are you going to be doing in the next 12 months? And they didn't have an answer, because they had finished and handed in the report. This is saying If you go up to the 8th day and you discover that the outstanding business of the forum may not be concluded or would not be concluded in the next 2 days, then you can get back to the minister, and I'm sure the minister will reasonably say, yes, that is correct. Issue a statutory instrument for another extra 2 days to enable you to conclude the business. Now, if you are going to argue that, but the minister automatically turn down that request, that's a hypothetical, you know. That's what I'm calling hypothesizing, you know, an issue. And once you proceed in an argument, you know, that way, then you can't have a conclusion. Then you can't have a conclusion. My view is that I would rather attend the forum.
You'd rather be positive that the minister will
run through,
automatically
yes,
extend.
I want to be positive so that I can make my case to the Zambian people. I want to make my case to the Zambian people, whether or not the government is doing this in good faith or in bad faith. I can't answer that question now. I would be misleading Zambians now if I said that Edgar Lungu doesn't mean well, the PF government doesn't mean well. I'll be misleading the Zambian people. But at that time, when the process is concluded, I'll be strong enough to stand on an anthill and say, here is a government that does not mean well. Here is a president who doesn't mean well. And he undermined this process.
Let's look at the appointment of the chairperson for this forum, and it vests the powers into the president.
Yes.
This is also another concern for some stakeholders.
What is a concern? You know, why was it not a concern?
Why wouldn't the forum choose their own chairperson?
Well, that is just one way. You can use many methods, you know. Why was it that when many of us stakeholders picked on the church to chair, it was not a concern? Why was that not a concern?
It is a concern now because people
Why?
believe the president is a leader of a political party, which is also a party to this to the dialogue.
But he's exercising executive powers. Don't forget that the president under the Zambian constitution is a chief executive officer of government. So he's exercising executive powers to appoint a chairman. And the forum has been given the mandate to ratify, to say yes or no.
In effect, the dialogue process now is being driven by the government.
No ways. That's not the point.
The chairperson is being appointed by the government.
No, but you know, what about the ratification? Why are you leaving out the ratification process? Why are you just hanging on to one straw? Why not the ratification process? Okay? If you just had a standalone section that says the president shall appoint the chairperson, then you can say, but it's being, the president can choose his friend. But if the president chooses somebody that we think is compromised, we have a right as a forum to say, sorry, this gentleman or lady is compromised. Can you give us another one?
But you were stating numbers in here, and you know, of course, maybe others have argued that government has an inbuilt majority.
I've worked out
silent majority.
I've worked out the numbers. That is not even true.
The PF has got huge numbers in Parliament.
No. Well, what is the difference between the PF and the... They don't even have a 2/3 majority in Parliament. They don't even have the 2/3 majority.
Add to that, the alliance
Parliament.
members of MMD.
Well, how many MMD members of Parliament are there?
Add
3
to,
or 4?
add to that independent MPs.
Oh, I'm not sure if independent MPs are PF members or supporters.
Majority of them have worked with the PF.
You can't have an argument.
Add to that the numbers. Almost every ministry has a representative to that. The judiciary, commerce, local government.
These have been picked. These are
government.
No, these have been picked. These have been picked from ministries which can help the forum conclusively deal with the items before it. Okay? You have, for example, the Drug Enforcement Commission. We shall be dealing with the certain constitutional issues that touch on the Drug Enforcement Commission, because it's a constitutional commission. Okay? So they ought to be there so that they can guide, so that they can tell us the difficulties that they have. They are not there because of the numbers. So let's try to be.
But you're so sure they would not vote. They would vote against the president if he brought a chairperson.
That is why the voting in the bill is by secret ballot. the voting in the bill is by secret ballot. So that at the end of the vote, nobody would know how I have voted. Deliberately so. And I think this was a good way of putting it. The voting, if you don't arrive at a decision by consensus, you shall go for a vote. And the voting is by secret ballot. What is iniquitous about that? Nothing.
Is there any reason why people have chosen, or drafters of this bill have chosen, that these deliberations should be held in camera?
No. Again, that is a misreading of the bill. Go to the section. It doesn't say that. It says members of the public who want to attend the forum deliberations can register, can do so within
2 days prior.
2 days prior to their attendance. Okay? And that the meetings shall be public meetings. However, the forum, again, the forum may decide to hold certain proceedings in private or in camera if circumstances so demand. That is what the section is saying. Why are you just reading half the section? When you get to the comma, you put a full stop. Read the section. It says they shall be in public, but if the forum so demands, they can hold their proceedings in private or in camera. If, it's a qualified statement, if circumstances so demand.
There's also a bigger issue, I don't know if how you would term it, which others have concern about, but particularly civil society, that members of parliament will be part of the forum, and then they'll go to parliament and still debate and deal with the document that will come from the forum.
I actually laughed. I was at the farm, and I only came back yesterday, and I've been going through, these arguments. I actually laughed. I had a good laugh to myself. Like Donald Trump said, what did you do when Barack Obama, was making a statement against? He says, I fell asleep. So I actually fell asleep. I thought that was, something laughable. Okay? Because members of parliament have to come to the forum as members of parliament. They will participate in the deliberations. They will vote on the agenda items in the forum. And then after that, they will acquiesce or give consent to the draft bills that will be done, that will be produced by the forum. And then the minister responsible or ministers responsible will then draft the bills for submission to parliament. How can you say that these honorable men and women can then go to parliament and say we throw out everything, that the forum did?
They may go to parliament, not necessarily throw out everything, but amend certain clauses which did not agree with in the forum.
No, but they are going to be there. They are bound. They are bound by the resolutions of the forum. I think let's be charitable to other human beings. They are bound by resolutions of the forum. And I read a statement which said this is against the rules of natural justice. What natural justice? Whom are they judging? They are not judges in their own case. So what natural justice? These phrases, we just pick a workshop at Southern Sun, and then you start running with them. We are confusing, the poor people out there who don't even understand these terminologies. I don't see the mischief myself.
You do not share into the fears that probably this whole process may be hijacked by government?
No.
Sitting in the opposition, you do not share this fear?
No. I want to build a case. I want to make my case. And I can tell you, Grevazio, that if I reach the end of this process and I discover, some duplicity, some cheating, or lying on behalf of government, you see me take a different stance altogether.
And that is all you can do, isn't it?
Well, but what else can I do? Is to go to the Zambian people
And the battle would have been lost. The battle for a good constitution will have been lost at that point.
It will just be a temporary loss. It will just be a temporary loss. But the Zambian people then will know that we are dealing with a government of men and women that are dishonest and that have no integrity. I can't make that case now. I'll be speculating.
Would you say there's a real difference between the NCC and this National Dialogue Forum? Different names?
No, they are, you know, they are dealing with two separate issues. The NCC, if you remember, was convened to deal with the Mungomba report, Constitutional Review Commission report, if I'm not mistaken. It was decided that at the end of that, that must go to the NCC, which NCC then would produce a draft constitution for submission to Parliament. Okay? This is bringing together stakeholders to come and dialogue and then make
agree to amend the constitution.
Agree to amend the constitution. Agree to amend or repeal the Public Order Act. Agree to, you know, to repeal, to amend the Public Order Bill in the form in which it is. The bills of all these pieces of legislation. That's what it is dealing with. And it is dealing with the consensus building. That's why it says resolutions there and decisions shall be by consensus, except in exceptional circumstances when you have to go for a secret ballot. So the two processes are dealing with the two different scenarios altogether.
When all this is done, what do you hope to see?
We want to see a better constitution than what we have now. We hope to see a Public Order Act that responds, you know, to my guaranteed right to express myself and assemble, unlike what is happening now. We hope to see political parties that are regulated in a manner that promotes democracy. We hope to see an electoral system which does not give rise, you know, to contentious matters after each election, like we have seen in the last I don't know how many years. In other words, we hope to see a better democratic environment than that in which we are operating today.
You're hoping to, you're hoping, you have a lot of hope, but probably somebody has put it that contention is a matter of survival for opposition parties.
If you didn't,
it's the only way you earn your credibility after you've lost, by accusing the system of not being fair.
Well, but you know, that is the point. I don't want to be part of that opposition. You know, I want to be part of the opposition where, when I've lost an election, you know, I must realize that I lost it fairly. I must pick up the phone and congratulate, you know, the person who has been declared winner, instead of spending my time walking on the carpet before the Constitutional Court, trying to chase the wind. And I tell you, if I didn't have hope, or if you didn't have hope also, you would not be going to church every Sunday. What keeps us alive is faith and hope that tomorrow will be better than today.
Mr. Kabimba, thank you for your time.
Welcome. Thanks for inviting me.
You've been watching Sunday Interview, and our guest this evening was Rainbow Party Secretary General, Mr. Wynter Kabimba, discussing the National Dialogue Bill. Till next week sometime, pleasant viewing.